What up, y'all? You know who it is, your boy Jada Kiss, you know what I mean? Right now with Chris Strong. Shout out to Camden, New Jersey, all my niggas out there. Let's get right into it. Yeah!
BTBTV. Chris Strong, man.
No pause, yeah.
What up, y'all? You know who it is, your boy Jada Kiss, you know what I mean? Right now with Chris Strong. Shout out to Camden, New Jersey, all my niggas out there. Let's get right into it. Yeah!
BTBTV. Chris Strong, man. Yo, born, let's get him, man. Yeah, right, never off plan. Used to get busy with them guns in my hand. 4 or 5 or a black 9 with a grand in my pocket and beef cool as a fan. BTBTV, we're not playing. Y'all just talk, we back it up and down. Sideways F what y'all saying. We Kyrie and Kanye. This a boss talk, so you clowns should just fly away. Hop on the bridge, throw your frame off the highway. This not a game, this is business. My way, real talk, your opinion is nothing to us. We gon' stay on chill, long as y'all don't violate. But it's not fair. We could be cool or your worst nightmare. We the best, I swear. And you could be my friend or enemy, I don't care. And you better beware, cause we coming for the whole pie and we don't share. No, it just ain't fair. But we the best, I swear. We the best, I stay up in the mix. A project politics, my mood kinda sick. Name well known from the hood to the sticks. 100 on the highway, flying so fast, burn the gears when I shift. Some people kick dirt on your name, what shoes you gave them. Broke your back for them and they got the nerve to play you. Kick rap's door off, pushed and shoved my way through. Bum rush the kitchen, put my floor up on the menu. The jealousy be hitting up in jokes. That's why I stay serious like David Banner turn in the whole in pure form like the Pope. Haters get infrared beams with the scope, so run and get ghosts. We fight good boxing like Floyd on the ropes. I'm the great black hope. Man, we the team and they know it coast to coast and it just ain't.
I'm back to New Jersey.
You can be cool or your worst nightmare.
My boy Strong can't gamble, bro. We got a bill, man. Billy in the building.
Be my friend or enemy, I don't care. And you better be aware. Cause we come for the whole pie and we don't share. No, it just ain't fair. We the best. If you with us, put your lighters in the air. No, it just ain't fair.
Peace. Peace.
Just ain't fair, man. Yeah.
I gotta. Where's my?
Through the joy and the pain.
Yeah, here we go, yeah. We got, I gotta shout out my little bro, man. He give me all the dope music. So, I gotta play his shit, dog. Here we go, yeah, here we go. Y'all give me 1 second. Here we go, yeah. Here go the classic. Here go the classic, y'all. Hell yeah, Chris Strong in the building. Yo, we got Monique Hill in the building. Salute everybody.
Show them how we do this, man. BTBTV. We bully the bullies. No run, no retreat. Yeah. BTB TV. One more time for y'all in the back. Y'all slow in
niggas.
Right. Yo, John Gotti flow, rap Pablo, Escobar status, rap game Corleone. I can show you how you lay back and watch your pockets grow. Stay away from devious women and end up like Papa Smoke. Y'all wake up every day twitching like yo, I gotta post. I wake up every day mission. It's $1 million notes. Dominoes, bodies drop, rot stink like hot toast. Broadway, man, if you know, then you know. I came for everything they said I couldn't have. Got that and then some. My ones on overload. Say I overdose. Rappers in the tight squeeze and that clutch like Cobra rope. The okey doke, we don't go for that. Another tale from the street. That's the horror flow. The projects like a ghost try and haunt your soul. Another tale from the street. Homicide the folks who wanna play to them guns scream. Adios. Another tale from the street. Black Mafia. So Don Corleone mixed with Al Capone. Another tale from the street like an opera show.
Yo, let's get it. Let's get it. Let's get it. Let's get it. Peace to the 5% nation of guys and nerfs. Salam alaikum, alhamdulillah, rahmat to all the true Muslim brothers and sisters out there. Yo, what's popping to the Bloods, was cracking to the Crips. And like I said on this panel, we ain't no Bloods on no Crips. We doing our own thing. BTV, the start of the zone game. Like, nigga, what? Let's get to it. Let's get to it, yo. We got a live show for y'all today, man. A live show. I got the guy. God, introduce yourself.
Peace to the family. This is Shabu Billah. You know, like always, I'm here to support my brother, born Almighty Allah. You know what I'm saying? So we're going to show and prove what we got to say on these topics today.
All right. So, you know, I know you know a little bit about the 50 Cent Murder Inc. Supreme Beef, right?
Absolutely.
All right. Before we go into any videos, tell me your thoughts on that. On your thoughts that Irv Gotti was the one that paid for that allegedly paid for the head of 50 Cent, and it wasn't Supreme. Him, Supreme, and Griff that did it.
Well, you know, I mean, like most things, if you ain't actually there, you know, I know individuals that they say that, you know, was involved with that. But personally, with me, I didn't think that the beef should have ever started or escalated like that because, like we all know, the ghetto Quran thing, from my perspective, was like to his hood, you know, and Allah bless the ones that return to the essence. Black Hand Chaz, that they he called them Slim, and that was 50 Cent's first manager, and that caused a lot of, you know, strife and beef amongst them. Like Herb and them, like I said, from my perspective, back then they was more like a lot of people into the music industry, but of course, Supreme coming home and giving Supreme a vehicle which he could not have to go back to the drug game was paying homage. And it's sad that it really had to end up the way that it ended up. But at the same time, you know, I ain't gonna knock 50 from the perspective of holding the beef that he hold, because if a person is involved with possibly taking my life, you know what I'm saying, then that's something that you can't never forgive. So that's my personal opinion on that right there.
Yo, I want y'all to check out something, man. And I'm gonna tell you, before I play this, yo, shout out to Gene Deal and Art of Dialogue. You know what I'm saying? He's a good dude, you know what I'm saying? He lets us use his content and talk about it, you know what I'm saying? It's fair use to everybody. But yo, another thing about it too, you gotta think about this, man. With the animosity that 50 Cent he gained for Supreme, he ain't gained animosity because of just Murder Inc. alone. 50 Cent was hearing certain things in the street like Supreme might have something to do with his mother's murder. He never said it. That's what people try to call 50 Cent a rat, and they pull up that bogus paperwork. You be like, yo, he already got some type of knowledge allegedly that this man has to do with his mother being murdered. You know what I'm saying? He might have got it later on down the line, but he knew it. But he never said nothing. He knew who shot him. He knew Hamilton shot him. Didn't shoot him. He never said who shot him, though. You know what I'm saying? They just pressed him about who shot him. The police officer pressed him about the detective was pressing 50 Cent to give up statements. And he never gave any up. The detective said it himself. I'm gonna find a video with the detective talking to, but yo, let's listen to what Gene Dill had to say to the Art of Dialogue about it.
Well, I met 50 through Black Hands. I was head of security for Black Hands. Chaz Williams was on American Gangster, BET American Gangster. He used to manage Foxy Brown for a while. He managed a dude called Graf under Graf. He did a lot of parties all over the nation. He did parties with Shaq at the when Shaq had the All-Star Cafe in Vegas. We used to do parties all over the country, and he was over Black Hands Entertainment, and he also did that compilation album where you got DMX, 50 Cent, Ja Rule, Donald Goins.
Check this out. I'm going to show you how I afforded this car. Okay, you ready? All right, 100.
A host of other people on that Black Gangster album from Donald Goins. He did that. So I was head of his security. 50 was over there. I had a group myself called No Fear. They was from Harlem. This guy named Mel, hot, crazy. He would have been bigger than Jay-Z had he not listened to the guys that was pulling him away. Trust and believe, his name was Swar. They call him Swar. His name was Mel. Crazy, lyrically crazy. He was so hot that, yo, 50 might hate this. 50 will take anybody's. Mel was over there putting hooks on 16 bars. He'll do 16 bars. He was the first one doing that. 50 took that and put it on the street first. He heard it from Mel and put it on the streets and started putting it on tapes and taking people music. Mel was taking people music and redoing their songs. Like if you do the hot song and you was an R&B or a rapper and you had a hot beat, Mel will take your beat. He would take your song and do a whole new song and put it on a CD. But he wasn't putting it in the street like 50. 50 took that idea, ran with him, blew him straight up. Crazy. Everybody want the 50 Cent track. Everybody want to hear from 50. That's how that got to Eminem from hearing 50 mixtapes. But that ideal came from Lil Mel from 112th Street. So I was going up to Black Hands and everything like that. So then we was going to do a show in a party in Vegas. And I had seen 50 at the Black Hands a couple of times. So when we got off the plane, I made sure 50 was good. And I made sure 50 was all right. We was like, I said, you all right? He said, yeah, you all right? He said, yeah. I said, you can handle this? He said, yeah, I can handle this. You know what I'm saying? You know, we got a lot of rap, bastards out here. And because I was in law enforcement and everything like that, I didn't, me making sure he was all right because he was a part of our team, somebody don't look at that like this, we being safe. I'm looking at us, you all gonna be safe. I don't care what the circumstances of the situation was at that time in my life. So 50 was all right. So we was down at the gate where we was giving a party and it was just me and 50. And we was just talking. 50 was the type of dude, he was young and he would just write everything. You be talking to him and he be writing shit down. That's why I think that song he got called Hands Up or Up in Here or something like that. He said, I got the savoir faire. I told him what savoir faire means. That was my company. You know what I'm saying? Or get up. I think that's the song or whatever like that. So he said, I got the savoir faire. That was the name of my company, savoir faire. You know what I'm saying? So I told him what it meant. So he put that in the song. So long story short, Irv Gotti,
sticky fingers. I see them, brother.
and Supreme and all them pulled up. And Supreme jumped out the car. And him and 50 was just mean mugging each other. And Supreme was telling me, like, yo, Gene, tell the old man that I'm not coming to the party and everything like that. And we going over to this other spot and everything like that. I said, y'all not coming, you're not gonna go up there and tell him yourself? He said, nah, man. And him, you know, he never took his eye off 50. And 50 never took his hand off one of my girlfriends. And I was like, because he was leaning over the thing like this, and I knew where he had put it at. So 50 was leaning over the thing like this. I was like, yo, damn. So I was like, why they was mean mugging? I didn't know it was a problem between them two at the time. So he got back in the limousine, they drove off.
All right, y'all, let me stop it right here real quick. Hold up. Let me pause it.
I told Chaz the situation. I was like, yo.
Let me ask y'all a question, man. And I'm just curious. Do y'all think that Supreme was a little scared of 50, a little nervous of 50 because he knew what type of street nigga 50 really was? Or do y'all think he was scared or nervous about what he would do to 50 in that situation?
Anybody want to go first?
Now you can go because we don't go up here. I'm not going to chat. Hold on, fuck. Well, Scarface Gamble. If a motherfucker try to kill you, well, parts of I'm in the curse. We don't curse on this platform no more. If a person try to kill you, you always gonna hate that person, yo. You go dance to that person's grave when that person leave this earth. I would. I'm petty like that though, but I don't think that's petty. I think that's just what a real person to do.
But my thing is, right, is that see, individuals got to respect the streets all the way. And what I mean by that is 50 and Supreme thing had began long before the music thing. It had began with the hustling game. And it said that Preem came on the block one day and he rubbed 50's head and 50 rubbed his head back. See, a lot of people don't really understand at that time the type of power that Preem had. I knew him and we grew up like in knowledge, but we from two different boroughs, you know. But I remember I had went out to projects, it's Astoria that's out there like by Queensbridge, Ravenwood, that whole little area. And they was having a park jam. And I went into the park jam, and at that time, they used to call Astoria projects Law's projects. So it was a lot of 5%ers that was out there during that time. And during the park jam, a limousine pulled up. And when Preem came out the sunroof, you know, we always say peace and everything else. They said word to Preem. And I was like, yo, who is this dude that he got, you know, this much influence that, you know, that they saying word to Preem. So what I'm saying is that 50 was upcoming at that time, and he was well respected in his hood amongst his peers. Yeah. So Preem, you know, being the individual that he was, it was more or less like a challenge because nobody else at that time, if Preem would have rubbed their head, that he would have rubbed their head back. But it was more like, you know, I'm not no little boy no more, and you know, don't got the ability to come up and rub my head. And as a man and as a person, that's the way that I am, that I won't rub your head back. So it really kind of started back then. And what I'm saying is to that is, just like in my hood, I may have all the respect in the world, but at the same time, you got other young individuals that's coming up that represent and may have respect for you, but in the same token, if you're not showing them the same respect, it's going to turn into a situation, just like use Carlito's Way as an example with Carlito and Benny Blanco. You know, Benny Blanco was rolling out the red carpet to him, but Carlito didn't want to accept that. And then instead of him knocking them off in that alleyway, he allowed them to live. And as we all know, at the end of the movie, Benny Blanco was the one to come back and take his life. So it's a thin line when you out there, and respect is far greater than fear. You know, so you got to know at times when to respect people. And I think that that's how the whole situation escalated. And also by Preem coming home, and like I said, Irvin them wanting that type of street credibility to go along with Murder Inc. That's, you know,
Yo, God,
what
yo, God,
caused the friction.
yo, God, check this funny thing out so bad. We all know that Ja Rule was a Jehovah's Witness. He's walking around handing them pamphlets out to people's door, knocking door to door. We knew he never was no gangster. I'm gonna be honest. Everybody might think I'm BSing you. I never liked Ja Rule or Murder Inc. music, bro. I never liked that Pop-Tart shit. You know what I mean?
You know, with
Put it
that right
on.
there, with that right there, I'm just gonna say a little bit for you. It get back to that with the Jehovah Witness thing. A lot of us, if you know, my brother that's home now, that's doing this thing and everything else, King Tut, that's what he was. He was a Jehovah Witness. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know how Ja Rule was personally, because like I said, we from two different age brackets and eras. Excuse me. But a lot of us, you know, that was raised back at that time in Christianity or whatever, you know, denomination that our parents grew up in. And that's what was the cause of a lot of individuals really getting out in the street and going totally different from that. So I'm not saying nothing to justify whether Ja Rule was in the streets or not in the streets, but a lot of times you adjust to the environment that's around you. So that's all I wanted to say about the Jehovah Witness thing.
Yeah. All right. But nah, well, I'm talking about Jehovah Witness thing because he was never in the streets. He didn't get gangster until he signed the Def Jam. You know what I'm saying? That's when they got gangster. That's when they changed it. They record label to Murder Inc. Oh, you change your record label to Murder Inc. Ain't one murderer in your camp. We know 50 history. We know the work he put in on the streets. Yeah, hold up. Matter of fact, yeah, let's listen to what Jay had to say some more. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to our dialogue of Gene Dale. Salute to my brother, Bon Shabu Allah. Here we go, y'all.
What you calling them ain't coming to the party. Because he asked me, did I see them? I said, yeah, they came up in a limousine. They said they wasn't coming to the party. You know what I'm saying? He said, I said, but him and 50 was mean mugging each other. He was like, yeah. He started laughing. Chad started laughing. I said, yeah. He said, so what happened? I said, nothing. 50 was all right. He said, what you mean 50 all right? I said, he had one of my girlfriends with him. And then Chad said, he had what? He said, go get that from him. I said, man. Yo, he good, man. He be all right. He all right. He said, man, boy. So that was it. So me and 50, we just became cool. We used to talk. And then after the big fight that he had with Ja Rule in Atlanta, Ja Rule and the people like that in Atlanta, they set up a meeting at Black Hands. So they set the meeting up at Black Hands, you know, for them to talk. But prior to that,
Peace to the guy,
they had
Elmatic.
caught 50 at the, I don't know if it was the Hit Factory or the Sound, the Hit Factory or the Sound Studio, one of them studios down on 40th Street like that, or 50-something Street, and they stabbed them up. Now, they stabbed 50 up. So now Chaz had worked the deal out. Nobody knows this, bruh. Chaz had worked the deal out for Irv Gotti and them to give 50 $250,000.
Could we use your house to trial our 24-hour bathroom upgrade system? We're looking for homeowners with invalid.
He had worked a deal for them to give $250,000. So now, don't nobody supposed to know this, but 50 and Chaz and Irv Gotti and them team. So now, whatever the situation is, Chaz told 50 when they was in Atlanta, he said, go talk to Ja, man. Y'all talk that shit out. But he never asked 50 how 50 felt about it. This is the conversation that me and 50 is having. Because we had this conversation in Dr. Dre's studio when I was bodyguarding Scott Storch. You understand? So now, when 50 went over to Ja, he just snuffed him, cracked. Because Ja had a little baseball bat in his hand, hitting it like this. You know, so when 50 got close enough, 50 snuffed him. So they all tried to jump. Chaz jumped in there, grabbed 50, but they wasn't going to try to hit 50. After Chaz grabbed him, they wasn't going to try to hit 50. And if they'd have hit Chaz, they knew all hell would have been broken out. All hell would have been loose in Queens. You understand? They was just trying to get to 50, but they couldn't get to him because Chaz had grabbed him up and everything like that. So Chaz took him to the room. You understand? He said, my man, why you do that and stuff like that? And 50 explained to him, you know, he trying to act like he was a certain way, you know, Ja Rule. So he snuffed him in the whole 9 yards. He didn't know he had the bat in his hand. He was acting like he wanted something. And then Chaz found out later that 50 got Ja chained. You understand? And so then Chaz asked 50, what do you want to be? Because he found he had the chain. He said, what are you going to be, a robber or a rapper? I need to know this. And 50 said, what, I supposed to lose my watch, brother? You know what I'm saying? I lost my watch. He lose something, I lose something. You know what I'm saying? So now Chaz gave 50 Movado with diamonds in it for his watch, for him losing his watch at the time. I don't know what kind of watch 50 had, but that's what Chaz gave him. 50 eventually gave the chain back, and Ja got his chain back like that. So now the deal is going sour from the 250,000 they were supposed to give 50. You understand? They were supposed to get 250,000 because they was thinking that 50 was supposed to, they had put out paperwork and lies that 50 snitched and 50 didn't snitch. 50 ain't say nothing about that stabbing. That came from the DJ and the engineer, and the prosecutor put 50 name in the paperwork as a protective witness. You understand? But 50 ain't give him no kind of statement or nothing like that. That was checked and clarified. You understand what I'm saying? He didn't give him no kind of statement. So they were supposed to give 50 to 250,000, but the manager of 50 found out. I don't know who told him. I don't know how he got the information. So then after the fight, you understand, they decided,
salute, bro. I see you in the building. Salute.
They wasn't going to get a 250,000 because 50 didn't come to the meeting. All right. This meeting was at Black Hands in Queens, right? Supreme had an office downstairs. Black Hands was upstairs. So now Chaz is calling me. Said, where you at? I said, I'm on my way, bro. Y'all doing this shit at 1 o'clock. I got a job. I'm working. You understand? But I'm coming through my lunch break, you know what I'm saying? Like that. He said, yo, you heard from 50. I was like, nah, why should I hear from 50? He said, yo, he ain't here, bro. He ain't here. So I said, call him. He said, I've been calling him. He not picking up. So I said, all right. So I call him. So I call him, 50 pick up on the first ring. I said, what up, Fifth? I said, what up, Fifth? What's going on? He said, nothing, Gene, what's happening? I said, yo, man, why you ain't at the meeting? He said, oh, you know, I knew that was the bullshit. You know what I'm saying? He said, oh, I got to go down to Columbia. I don't know if it was Columbia, Tommy Mottola, something like that. He told him like that. He said, yo, tell them to reschedule it. And I said, man, you call and tell them. You understand? He said, tell him, Gene, do that for me. I said, yeah, all right. So then I called Chaz back. I said, I just got to 50, man. He said, tell y'all to reschedule it, man. He said, man, everybody's out here. He knew about it. Chaz started running down and everything like this. I said, yo, bro, he said he ain't gonna be able to make it, bro. Y'all, I don't know what you want me to do, bro. I'll be there in a minute and everything like that. So now me and Chaz meet up. Chaz tells me, yo, we ain't dealing with 50 no more. And I said, we? He said, yeah, he's not doing what Black Hands need to do for him. I said, all right. I said, but we? What do you mean we? He said, well, I made the introduction to y'all too. So, and you're part of Black Hands and everything like that. I'm just letting you know what we're not doing. Well, I said, yo, Chaz, I'm my own man. You know, I make those decisions for myself. You know what I'm saying? Because at that meeting that 50 didn't show up with, Irv Gotti and them was worried about if something happened to 50, what Chaz was going to do. You understand? They was worried about whatever happened to 50. Yo, something happened to us. Yo, Slim, you ain't gonna, you ain't gonna change your mind. Slim said, change my mind. He ain't even calling me. He ain't dealing with me. You know what I'm saying? Change my mind. I don't have nothing to do with that. He not with me. He not calling me back. He not speaking with me. So when they heard that, they felt that, and it wasn't Supreme. Like everybody wanted, and it makes it bigger when people think it's Supreme. You know, it wasn't Supreme. The Murder Inc. people know who it was, and it wasn't Supreme. The people who were standing there talking, Irv Gotti them, who was sitting there talking, worrying about was Chaz was going to say anything, was Chaz was going to change his mind, was Chaz people going to do anything if something happened to 50. That's how it went down.
Hey, Scarface, I just sent you the link to your phone, bro.
So they thought, okay, we're not going to pay a nigga the $250,000. We'll pay a nigga $25,000.
Great ideas can come from anywhere. With Wix.
And everybody know in the street.
Yo, bro, did you hear that? Did you hear that, bro?
Yep.
He said, we ain't gonna pay the nigga $250,000. We gonna pay somebody $25,000. They put that bag on his head. And Chaz knew this. Chaz didn't warn 50. Even if you 50 wasn't speaking at the time, y'all still had some type of correspondence. You greenlit it for him to get hit. That's why he said, Chaz switched sides on me. Why you want me to die, homie? He said it. Chaz, he said, Slim switched sides on me. Why you want me to die, homie? Because you knew what was going on, and you could have warned him. Even if you didn't get him, even if you didn't stop the hit, you could have warned him and said, yo, be safe out there, bro, because they own you now. You know what I mean? Anything, bro. If you ever have any type of love for a person and y'all ain't fall out over no BS, like, you know what I'm saying, over him messing with Chuck World, him stealing from you, or anything of that nature, you're gonna let him know if you hear something that's gonna harm him. Am I right, God?
Yeah, I agree. I agree. But what I would say to that also too was that I don't know whether from what Gene is saying, it sounds like 50 had already made up in his mind that he wasn't going to show up. But if what he's stating is the truth as far as the 250,000, then I would have been there because it was bigger than just the money and everything else. It was the street politics that was involved. So 50 had a chance to basically squash that beef. But in his mind, and him being young, he didn't want to do that. So he decided not to show up. Now, whether he thought that showing up, that he still was in jeopardy, I would not think that. And the reason why I'm saying that is because me and Chaz had a relationship. You know, we got to know each other well, and he was always cut from that same cloth. So as far as I know, his word was bond to whatever. And like you said, he was the individual that would have kept it from escalating in 50 behalf because he had that type of respect. The same way Supreme had that type of respect, Chaz had that type of respect. He had earned that out there in the streets. So I'm going to say if it was...
Hold on, let me say something. I need to cut you off, guy. Pardon yourself. I'm going to cut your wisdom. But you got to think about it, too. In all reality, 50 was a boss in his own right, too. You dig what I'm saying?
Absolutely. Absolutely. But like I said, a lot of times it's the decisions and the choices that you make. So at that time, he was moving with Chaz. So if I'm moving with Chaz, then I'm going to trust that Chaz got my best interests at heart. But if I think that he doesn't, or I just want to be my own man and ignore the situation and I want to do what I want to do, any type of repercussions or consequences that come after that is what you got to deal with. Because by Chad saying, no, he disrespected me, he's not communicating with me, you know what I'm saying? I'm washing my hands of that situation. Is like what you said, that more or less gave the green light to whatever else that might have been in the background. Because Irv and them, they definitely wouldn't have made no moves toward doing anything to 50 Cent as long as he was associated with Chad.
All right, God, let me say this now, God. Let me say this real quick. Now you said this is what you're saying. You're saying, but an enemy, a friend of mine can't be the enemy of my friends. If you're a friend of mine, you can't be the enemy of my friend. You can't be the friend of my enemies. That's an oxymoron. You cool with Supreme, you ride with them, you doing all this stuff with them, doing all this stuff with Murder Inc., and you're my manager. You know what I'm saying? You're my boy. You're my big homie. Now I already feel I can't trust you now. So why would I go to a meeting with you? I already feel I can't trust you. That's when you start seeing a person being around a person that you beefing with too much and laughing and giggling and drinking with them and politicking with them. Your first thought in your head is, yo, I can't really trust this dude. Is he trying to line me up? Now that's street terminology you're thinking, bro.
Boy, bring more clarity to me. Was this prior to 50 getting shot, or was this after 50 got shot?
This is prior to 50 getting shot.
Okay, so this is what I'm saying, right? If it's prior to him getting shot, right? What's going on right now, really, they having some little bullshit street beef where 50 is thorough out there and he's not respecting Ja. And really, from what I heard, it wasn't even 50 that was involved with snatching the chain. It was some other cat that 50 knew from the street that took the chain initially. So what I'm saying is, at that moment, it wasn't escalated to a life or death situation.
God, it was already escalated, God, because
right. But
listen, God, let me. I'm bring more knowledge to it for you. When they did the show in Atlanta, and 50 snuffed Ja and took his chain. 50 snuffed Ja in Atlanta and took his chain. You know what I'm saying? Because he lost his watch in the fight, so he took Ja's chain.
Okay, I agree.
So that's already that beef right there.
Okay.
Then after that happened, listen, hold up. God, let me explain real quick. Then after that happened, they ran into the studio session, 50 Cent studio session, and they started stabbing people up. 50 Cent had the gun in the engineer's room in the booth, so he couldn't get to the gun.
Right, that's Black Child and Cadillac Tide and all of them with that situation.
Yeah. Right. So then that's when they try to squash the beef. After all that happened, now 50 seeing you around these dudes all the time. First thing I'm figuring is you're trying to line me up. Like, let's look at this. Exactly. If you know I don't deal with them and you cool with them, you lining me up. That's how I feel about it. You know what I'm saying? I would feel like Slim was lining me up. Everybody was a wolf in that situation. 50, Chaz, and Supreme was wolves. The rest of them niggas was sheep. Bad. You know what I'm saying? The rest of them niggas was sheep, bro.
I agree. I agree to that. That's why I said it could have been that way. But what I'm saying is that at that point, see, because if he felt like that, then he should have never agreed to the meeting from out the gate. I would have been like, yo, Chaz, this situation that we done had, from the chain to me being stabbed in the studio, this can't be squashed. And the only reason why I'm saying that is that I done been through situations with people in my hood or whatever, you know, and we got beef, but yet the individuals that may be our OGs or whatever is saying, before it get to the point of where somebody's life has got to be taken, that we gonna step in there. So if I agree with my OG and say, yo, okay, I'm gonna show up, and the other side got their people, and we gonna work this situation out before it gets to the state where it's a no turn back. Because once, like you said, once 50 life was almost taken, from that point on, it's no going back. So this is prior to that, and you got Chaz that's as the intermediary on behalf of 50, because without Chaz being there, then that would have already been put into motion a long time ago. So I'm going to trust Chaz at that moment, and I'm going to show up to the meeting. Now, if I feel that this beef can't be squashed or reconciled or any type of level, then I'm gonna be, as a man, I'm gonna be like, yo, Chaz, I'm not with that. So it ain't no reason for you to set up no meeting or nothing. This is on and popping, and when I see him or whatever, that's how it's going down. But if I agree to come to the meeting, and then the day that the meeting is set up, all of a sudden I got to do something else, that part, from my perspective, was weak. That's all I'm gonna say. That part was weak, because had he showed up at the meeting, whichever way it was gonna go from that point on, it may not have escalated to what eventually took place, where his life was placed in jeopardy.
All right, now we're gonna listen to what Gene Dill got to say about it. Then we're gonna listen to the detective For people that say that 50 ratted on Murder Inc. and all them as Supreme, I put it like this. I was in the feds with somebody, one of the guys that was in the feds with Supreme. And they asked Supreme, this is secondhand. They asked Supreme, did 50 ever rattle you, whatever? You know what the guy in the feds said? No, Supreme told the guy in the feds? Nah. He's like, 50 ain't a rat. 50 is pretty a gangster. He's an asshole. That's his exact words that I got from one of the guys. But no, let's hear what you do have to say first. Then I'm gonna let you hear what the cop got to say.
This ain't just something that I'm making up. They know it wasn't Supreme. It was Irv Gotti and his people who put that on 50. That's why 50 hate them so much. You understand? So now, you understand, I call 50. 50 calls me back. Yo, Gene, you got a vest? I said, you gonna need one. He came over to the crib. I tried to fit him for one, and it did, at that time I was 2X, 3X. He was extra large, a large. It wasn't happening. You understand? So I gave him a cover. I said, just have somebody put your panels in this and sew it up on the side. Sew it tight. So if you get hit, it won't be loose. Just sew it up. Take it to the. I guess he didn't want to do it. He took it. He took the cover. You understand? But I guess he didn't use it. You understand? But I told him that, bro, they coming at you. And so then we got into a conversation at Dre's studio. No, we got in a conversation in Puerto Rico at Jack the Rapper when he had blew up and he had that first hit album. You understand? The Black Hands crew was there. Everybody that him and this crew was walking through. 50 stopped. Everything he was doing, it came right over to me. He said, Gene, they can't stop what God got planned. I said, you right, bro. Gave me that. He went on with his people. Next time I seen him, he was at Dre's studio. He was doing 2 songs with Scott Storch, Candy Shop and some other song. He was doing Candy Shop or some other song that he was doing with Scott Storch. We had a long conversation, and I was like, "Yo, bro, you stop fucking with me." You know what I'm saying? And I've always been my own man. And he said, "Yo, Gene, you was part of Black Hands. You understand? That's how I met you." St. Chaz really told me. He said, I didn't know who to trust, so I didn't fuck with nobody. I said, I can understand that based on the situation you went through. So I start seeing him, come to Shoes Rendezvous. You know what I'm saying? K-Slay started working with him, doing shit with him and everything like that. He always been a gentleman to me, always been a gentleman to him. And we just remained cool. And then when we got ready to do his documentary, I was going to be one of the headliners on his documentary, but the producer started talking crazy to me and trying to give me peanuts. And I was like, yo, listen here, ma, have 50 call me. And fuck it. And that's how I went.
I'm happy you broke that down because a lot of people don't understand what Irv did to 50 to make him hate him so much.
My man, he's supposed to hate them. He's supposed to hate them. You understand? Them niggas was trying to take him out of here. Y'all wouldn't have seen Power. Y'all wouldn't have seen BMF. Y'all wouldn't have seen none of that shit if that shit would have went down there. But God had other plans for him. He's supposed to have it. They don't never supposed to take no rap shit and put it in the streets like that and have street niggas who don't give a F and do some crazy shit like that to the man. You understand what I'm saying? Over some rap shit. Get out of here, bro. He's supposed to hate him. If it was me, I'd have sent flowers to his funeral. But he smoked a Gotti. So I guess that was cool. And that's real talk. And that's for and that's for that dude who called me talking about leave Irv Gotti name out of his mouth. Nah, I said Irv Gotti name. I'm still here. I'm gonna be here. Cause like my man told me, you can't stop what God got planned.
Yeah, man. So now that's so all right. But but see, Gene warned him. I would have took that vest and got it custom made. I'm just keeping it real, man. Gene didn't tell him what was going on, but he wanted Slim to tell him. Yo, Shabu, you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah. I mean, personally, 50 already made that decision because he already knew what he was dealing with and what could be the possible consequences behind making the decision not to show up and everything else. So at that point, I mean, still with cats being in the streets, it's kind of hard for me to just say, well, I gotta just go to Gene to get a vest or whatever at that time, because you already know what's going on. And yeah, he should have took it and everything else. But at the end of the day, really personally, chest shots, leg shots, and all that had been out the window by that time. And somebody coming for you, they coming to really take you out of here. So it's headshots. He was blessed and he survived that situation. So yes, it was meant for him to be who he is. But certain things, by those stages in your life, and you live in that way, then you should already be on point for that. Like it's no excuses that when beef is on and it's on at that level, that you're not understanding the parameters of what could possibly go down. And once you get the word, once you made the decision not to show up, then that means that anything that take place from that point on, you got to be prepared for that. Of course, in everything that we deal with, especially when we got war or beef, and this is what individuals got to understand. The greatest tool in war is the element of surprise. So when he pulled up that night or whatever, you know what I'm saying? He was hit with the element of surprise, but it still worked in his favor.
Yep.
But 50
Yo,
should have been,
it was broad daylight in front of his grandmother's house. Yo, I got my boy Scarface Gamble in the building. Salute, my boy. Salute.
What's happening? What's happening, big bro?
I'm good, man. Yourself?
Man, I just got finished working, man.
Okay, I know that's right. Yeah.
Just got
So
finished working. So now just
so far
chilling right
so
now.
far
What's going
so
on?
far so far what you heard, do you think 50 Cent's still wrong for going to Josh, keeping his foot on Josh's neck? Irv got his neck?
I mean, me personally, right? What's happening, black man? Personally, like how I look at it like this.
Please.
They got that paperwork saying that nigga told, but if his man dead, so it's like, if you beefing with them niggas, why don't you kill that nigga instead of keep being like, keep trolling that nigga? Like, it don't make no sense. Like, it's this thing. If I got beef with a nigga, it ain't no need to keep going back and forth. All right, when I see you, you know what it is. It's up. So it's like, to me, it's like 50 supposed to be a gat. It ain't no need to be doing all of that back and forth on the internet.
But you gotta think about this too. You kill a nigga with success. 50 ruined them niggas.
Right.
He in their career, so he killed them with success. So he didn't say nothing about Ja Rule. He ain't something about you. Ja Rule said something to them about him.
He said he's smoking on his man pack.
Yeah, he's smoking an Earth pack. Yo, I get 50 a life for that pack.
Yeah, that's nutty.
I get 50 a life for that pack. Yo.
You supposed to smoke a nigga for something like that, bro.
But you gotta think about it. If Yeah, but if anything would happen to Ja Rule or Irv Gotti, who's the first person they would have? Yeah, I heard you. If people would have, if something would have happened and 50 Cent, I mean, Irv Gotti and Ja Rule, hello, you there? Yo, hold up. Yo, bruh, if something would happen to Irv Gotti or Ja Rule, who was the first person they would have looked at, bruh? The police.
50. He had all the motive. But that's what I'm saying about that whole issue right there. And that's what's going on right now, where people gotta know when it's time to separate things. And as we proceeded, you know what I'm saying, with 50 coming up, even the degree of Bang 'em Up, Smurf, and all them that was with him from the beginning, when it got to that level, is now how do you control the individuals that surround you and how you separate the streets from getting this money. And I could say that because, we had a rap group from out our way back in the days. I'm in a song. A lot of people don't know a brother named Sir Abu, and he made a joint called Holy Wars, talking about the A-Team, talking about us guards on Logan and everything else like that. But every time they got ready to go to a club or to do a show, you got 50 cats coming from out of East New York or whatever to go there, causing problems or whatever. When you get on those type of levels where you dealing with those type of people, you got to have control of the individuals that surround you, because certain things that may be taking place in the streets that you may address right offhand could stop the flow of your money or your success. So at that time, 50 knew what was going on, but like you said, if he would have made any attempts as far as, to go and lay somebody down or whatever, it's over for you. It's over for you. So he got a decision at that time, even though the biggest beef was when they was getting past that, was that how they was blackballing 50 Cent. This is why 50 Cent ended up out there with Eminem in them, because nobody else was really willing to step into that because of the fear of how what's going on in the streets and what's going to go on in the studio. So individuals got to always know when it's time to separate that. And 50 understood that. So as his rise, even though certain individuals may have been with him in the street, if you refuse to listen to what I'm saying and we on the come up, then it's going to be a problem. So now those individuals, they was left behind only because they couldn't separate what the man was trying to do and where he was going from what was actually going on in their environment and what they was accustomed to doing. And that's where the problem be occurring nowadays, which has been taken to an even higher level by the drill music.
Hold on, pause out. Your Scarface, I think it was your reception when you was at, man, because it kept going in and out. So I think it was your reception. My boy SB Twins in the building. We got Twins in the building.
Salute,
the hub,
Warren, what's up,
the hub blogger. Salaam alaikum.
Oh, okay. Wow, they slam the law. Let me get my AirPods and all that right.
All right. Yo, Shabu, you know who that is, right? That's your little brother.
Who that? That's Cross or
that's
the
Twins.
other brother?
That's Twins. That's Twins.
Oh,
the hub blogger.
All right,
yeah.
all right. Peace.
Yeah, he get his earbuds ready. Yeah, I was wondering, Scarface, I was wondering what's going on. That shit kept blinking out. But yeah, Rodney Higgins. Were you in the room with Diddy and Ja Rule that day? Because you are brutally riding Ja's scrotum sack, bruh. Yo, would you let it rub it on your back, bro? Would you like the moisture, nigga? Come on, man. Yo, you there, Twins?
I'm back on Shabu. Salute, Born, salute. Much love and respect. Excuse
Yo.
the picture, John. I don't know what's up.
No
This must be
doubt.
one of my
Peace.
kids' Johns on here. I don't know what's going on with the logo, but we rocking out though.
Yeah. So let me ask you a question, bro.
Yeah.
You see that back and forth between Ja Rule and 50 was going on right now, right?
Oh yeah. It's out of pocket. I'll tell you one thing, man. 50 undefeated, bro. That boy's undefeated. Yo, seriously. And it's crazy because
go ahead.
I was saying it's crazy because Ja Rule defeated himself on this back and forth. He tried to, you know what I'm saying, when he went on the Breakfast Club, he got on there talking heavy. You know what I mean? Then he ruined everything.
Mac Mental Show, salute.
You already know.
Hold on. Let me ask you a question before you continue, Twist. Yo, this guy said I never see Irv or Ja posting videos of 50 or just bringing up 50. How many interviews have you seen Irv and Ja just bring up 50?
Especially when it was really going on, like especially like after the you gotta remember, like, you know, they was trying to hit 50 with the paperwork stuff and all that, trying to say he told that could have potentially crushed his career if you know people would have bent for that. Because if you even remember, even when the locks was going at 50, they brought it up. You know what I'm saying? Trying to say that he told and stuff like that. But yeah, they brought him up. They just you know, try to randomly sting. And I can't speak for Ja Rule, but definitely Irv definitely did. You know what I mean? Irv and his brother Chris. I think that's his brother named Chris Gotti.
Yeah, Chris Gotti, yeah.
Yeah, I heard both of them speak on him, especially with whatever happened allegedly in that studio. You know what I mean? When them lights went out.
Yeah. But yo, I want y'all to see something real quick. For all the people that said that 50 ratted, right? We got a retired detective, right? Who was on the case. Let's hear what he had to say first. And then I can put more respect on my boy 50 name, man. Out of here.
When 50 Cent pulls into his grandmother's driveway, Kenneth McGriff, a guy named Son from East New York, and a guy named Godby, who's a 5%er and a former member of the Supreme Team, acting in concert, shoot 50 Cent, I believe it was 9 times.
What do you remember about the Supreme Team's operation?
Yeah, you know, I always see a lot of numbers. So there's different eras of the Supreme Team. You know, the first Supreme Team case, they shot this other rapper, 50 Cent.
Oh, here we go, y'all. Right here.
Whose street name was Prince. And
here we go.
Actually in jail. He took a plea on I think a conspiracy to distribute drugs. And I think he got like an 8-year bid or something like that. And while he was in jail, his nephew, Gerald Miller, was like, you know, he'd order drugs up from Colombians and kill them. You know, beefs on the street, he took to these real violent levels. And so everyone feared the Supreme Team, but they feared the Supreme Team under Gerald Miller, whose street name was Prince. And so just large amounts of, you know, crack sales in the projects, you know, lots of ripping off suppliers, you know, and just, you know, more senseless acts of violence. If you want to sell drugs and make money, the last thing you want to do is have violence associated with your crew because it's going to bring heat. But again, you know, he was like the other guy, you know, just not smart, crazy, violent.
You see Rodney Higgins? What you got Murder Inc?
McGriff around, he had nobody to tame him and keep him, you know, in check. So.
And how did Prince just like, how did that
So the feds did a case with the NYPD and they ended up taking the Supreme Team down. I mean, he's got he had to get somewhere in the life range. You know, he was prosecuted by the feds. You know, and that kind of was the end of the power, you know, the real powerful era of the Supreme Team. When McGriff came out of jail,
Cross the loop, cross.
the game changed a little bit, you know. There was more intense
The
pressure
new
from
cross.
there was more sophisticated tools and prosecutorial kind of tools to get these guys. The drug sentencing guidelines went way up for crack and coke, more so for crack. So for something you would do maybe 8-year, 10-year bid, you could go away to jail for the rest of your life. So people started to be a little bit more careful, and there was money to be made, but not like that initial era. So
I see. Now, how did at that time? How did you or hip hop intertwine? Did it with the Supreme Team? Did you or were you aware of any artists?
You know, so I ended up getting involved in. I got a call from a chief who asked me to take a look into the Corley gang. James Corley had gotten out of jail, and he was eluding his parole officer and taking him on 90-mile-an-hour chases on the highway, and he asked me to go grab him. So when I went to look for him, all the different detectives that I talked to out in the field told me, hey, you should be looking at this guy Supreme now. He's out of jail, and there's some acts of violence going on. His lieutenant, Black just got killed. There's some different beefs going on, and it has to do with he's hooked up with his Murder Inc. records, and he's bodyguarding, or he's giving protection to this guy Ja Rule, this performer, and they shot this other rapper, 50 Cent. So, you know, I mean, I've always been a real big music guy, so I knew a lot about hip hop. I came from the Bronx. I lived the next neighborhood over from where the Black Spades came from, which turned into the Zulu Nation and all those guys. So I always knew about hip hop and you know, urban culture. And so I was like, wow, you know, let me check this out. And a detective from the 103rd Precinct gave me a mixtape from 50 Cent. And I thought it was great. You know, it was How to Rob and songs like that. So I was like, you know, this really interests me. So I never did catch Corley, and I went and put all my efforts into seeing what was going on with the Supreme Team. And we put a case together based on, you know, several homicides, drug trafficking, and it took 5 years to do. The IRS got involved and brought in, you know, guys to look at Murder Inc. records, and it was a crazy 5 years of, you know, the press and 50 Cent coming out and getting like the #1 album in the country. I mean,
Right.
you know, and it wasn't like I was in 50's corner, but, you know, he was a victim in the case. He kept his mouth shut. He refused to cooperate. I went after him, I don't know how many times. I tried to get his attorney, Bob Kalina, to get him to cooperate. He never would.
Really?
He flat out told me he wouldn't cooperate. So I give him a lot of credit. You know, someone shoots me 9 times, I'm going to go hide for a bit. You know, he came right back out, got in the ring, started fighting. So for me, it was like I saw it as a victory in a way that the guy who shot him, who arranged to shoot him, was, you know, was going to jail for the rest of his life. So, you know.
Which was Hamo, right? Or
no. So here's what happened. When 50 Cent pulls into his grandmother's driveway, Kenneth McGriff, a guy named Son from Eastern,
Can y'all hear me?
From Godby, who's a 5%er and a former member of the Supreme Team, acting in concert, shoot 50 Cent. I believe it was 9 times. 50 looks up, he's getting shot, so it's hard to see. And he turned to the guy he was with and said, I think that was Hamo. Now, Hamo was a guy named Darrell Baum, who's a famous, like, you know, robber from Brooklyn, really tough guy, tough with his hands, not a shooter, not a killer at all. But 50 said, wow, you know, I think that was Hamo. So he had it in his head that Hamo probably took the contract to get him, because he had trouble with the Supreme Team. He had trouble with the Murder Inc. Records guys. So he figured that it was a contract out on him, and Hamo took it. Well, when I heard who the shooter was, who was Son, he didn't have an arrest record. And I thought, well, that's odd. And so I ordered his driver's license photo, It's like, well, this kid don't look anything like Hama.
Yeah,
So
I hear you, Twist. I hear you,
I
Twist.
ended up getting
Oh, all
some
right.
good
Yeah, my fault. My fault. Yeah, my
from a
joint was
source of
acting up.
mine.
My fault.
I used to have paparazzi guys give me photos, and I'd say, don't concentrate on the rapper, concentrate on all the guys around him, get me good photos. And when I finally identify him, there is a resemblance to Hama. And I could see why 50 thought that Hama was shooting him. Because 50 never cooperated, we were able to get corroborating evidence of who the players were, who shot guns, who hid the getaway car, everything. But because 50 wouldn't cooperate, we really didn't have anything to go by. So the case was solved. We never got credit for it. 50 ever wants to talk about it, give him my number.
I knew somebody who who worked for 50. This person is from Jamaica.
Yo, Twins.
Yeah,
Go ahead,
yeah,
speak, bro.
my fault, boy. I just wanted to say this real quick. You letting Rodney air the chat out a little too much. First, I just gotta say this. I don't know what type time you on, Rodney, or where you from, bro, but it's like this. If a person told, if I say a person told, it gotta be the actual documented paperwork. That's for one. For two, we gotta also find out who got arrested for what 50 allegedly had told for. And then when you said 50 traveled with cops and all of that, I mean 50 is superstar. Superstar should travel with cops. But he also traveled by himself. That's a proven fact. It's no
Yeah.
disrespect to Ja Rule and Murder Inc. and them. They legends, bro. Don't get it twisted. They make great music. My whole thing was Ja Rule just did a bad situation where he posted up paperwork that wasn't real. That means you desperate. You don't post no paperwork that ain't real, especially with you being who you are. And if we're gonna say 50 walk around with cops, let's look at the fact that Ja Rule numbers getting protected by street niggas that wasn't even niggas they didn't grow up with. Like these is niggas, like if you gotta get protected by street niggas, then that means you ain't no street nigga, bro. Like I'm not gonna get famous today and put no type of street niggas on no type of payroll and do no business with them and be under the protection under them and look at myself as a G.
Facts.
Hey, see, and that's what I'm saying. I'm from that era, So you remember at the beginning, Born, when it was brought up, I said I'm not going to mention no names, but God be, that's my man from out in the desert. We all grow up in this 5% thing. The cat's son, I really don't know him like that, but he's from out of pink houses, so that's my whole stomping grounds right there. Cypress Hill, pink houses, Linden Plaza, and all of us that was 5%ers back at that time, we mainly knew each other. Supreme and all of them, it was the same way because back then, in all the 5 boroughs, we have our universal parliament once a month at the end of the month. So a lot of us knew each other prior to the crack era and the drug game. The police cat, a lot of times they say certain things and all of them is not totally accurate. Prince, of course, Prince was on it a little bit harder. I'm bring up a little personal story with him. Back then we had a crazy machine gun, with the digital readout and all that. And one of the brothers, I ain't gonna mention his name, he took the gun out of our arsenal and he went over there and he sold the gun to Prince. His older brother, from the relationship that they had when they moved it from Brooklyn out to Queens back then in the 70s, had let Preem know where that took place. But Preem wasn't on the street at that time. So he told the brother, yo, just go over there and you'll get the gun back. But when he got over there, Prince was like, nah, you know what I'm saying? this is too high power of a weapon and I'm not giving it back. So, of course, like he stated, that during those times, a lot of individuals, like I said, my area, one of the original A-team and all that like that, that when you start to involve a lot of violence with what you're doing, it's going to be a problem. He also stated, that cop, that they was robbing a bunch of drug dealers and all that. That wasn't going on. That one incident that took place that got Prince and them locked up for all the time that they got locked up for, which was killing those 4 Colombians for those 10 keys of coke. That was when they was on, you know, the downrise of that whole situation right there. And that was another move that was called or made, you know, according to Prince. I was incarcerated. I seen, you know, the actual paperwork and everything that was the indictment on that particular case, you know. So it just be things that people be putting out there that they be getting bits and pieces of everything. But once again, 50 never told, because if 50 would have told, then he would have been obligated for those individuals to be locked up or whatever, and somewhere he would have had to been brought in to testify, an affidavit, whatever that would have been connected to that case. And like the detective said, because they couldn't get any cooperation from 50 Cent pertaining to the case, that basically the case, you know, had to be let go, because God B was never locked up for that situation, and that cat's son was never locked up for that situation. So without 50 making the actual cooperation with that case, then they had no case. So they had to end up letting the case go.
Yo, Twiz, what you got to say about that? Yo, Twiz, you in the building? Twiz, you got yourself muted, bro. Matt Middle, what's your thoughts on that?
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I hear you. Go ahead.
I don't know what's wrong. Yeah, my joints keep disconnecting, but yeah, like I was saying, we gotta remember also, 50 was beefing with too many people, bro. If nobody else, Rick Ross would have paid top dollar to get his paperwork and lay it out there. That's all somebody would have to have did. That 50 was going back and forth with. You know what I'm talking about? It's everything. Everything is documented, and then even like what I heard Irv Gotti brother was talking about, like the studio situation. You gotta remember they was in the studio when that whole situation happened. You know how many, regular citizens was in there when that went
Yeah.
down? Anybody that was in any type of booth that probably could have, tried to give some type of tip or something like that. The paperwork
Yeah.
and nothing was never presented. A 50 testifying on nobody. You know what I'm saying? So it is
Yo,
what it is.
the engineer and the DJ got stabbed too. The engineer got his lung punctured. He the one that's pressed charges of Murder Inc. and sued them.
Yeah, that's a fact. That's a fact. That's a fact. And on top of that, like I said, this whole thing got stirred back up because we know 50 do what he do. He executed well. He just be betting off of people. So Ja Rule just fumbled. You know what I'm saying? He should have kept it at that Breakfast Club joint, whatever he said. But then once he threw that paperwork up, that just made it look, that was a bad look.
And then when he said this, he was like, why didn't you tell him who shot you? Why didn't you do that to the guys who shot you then? 50, you start talking like that. I thought you didn't know who shot me, bro.
Well, that's like saying, why Ja Rule couldn't get his jewelry back when his stuff got took and he had to go through Preem and them. Anybody can get hit. You know what I'm saying? Anybody can get hit, bro. At the end of the day, what he supposed to do? Crash out or put bread on somebody's head, and that person get booked and ended up telling.
Yeah, yeah.
That's what people do all the time. They be like, you ain't do this, you ain't do that. Then soon as you sitting in the cell like Dirk or something, they talking about how dumb you is. No, he playing chess. He killing people with success and still rubbing it in their face.
Yeah.
That was another part, Born, that the detective brought up with the situation with Black Just and E Moneybags. You know what I'm saying? And had not the situation, Cream didn't really know them dudes that went to do what they did to E Moneybags, because that's what got Preem really laying up right now, you know, is that E Moneybags body also.
And
you
Big
know,
Nose Troy. And that Big Nose
right,
Troy body. Yeah.
right. And that was another situation right there, you know what I'm saying, over E Moneybags, supposedly getting a tag car and then going and getting a real car and wanting his money back. And the female that was in the middle of that, she was telling E Moneybags, Preem said, you can't get your money back. And E Moneybags being who he was at that time, and like I was stating before the other brothers got on, you know, as an OG, you got to realize when other individuals that's coming up, that got the same mentality that you got. These mentalities that's picked up in the hood, they don't just come out of an air pocket. Everything that I learned from watching my OGs or whatever. In the same way, it may be just that individuals is doing things differently, but that was also a judgment call at that time, because had he respected who E Moneybags was, then he would have just been like, yo, we gonna get Holmes back his money, this little 2,000 or whatever. And that situation wouldn't have escalated where E Moneybags, you know, caught up with them in the Jamaica Coliseum and was really going after Preem. And Black Just was the one that ended up getting hit. And because, you know, a lot of people, whether it's been put out there before or not, is known that had Preem drove Just directly to the hospital instead of, you know what I'm saying, going back to the P's and getting somebody else to drive him there, Just wouldn't have bled out like that. And Black Just was really a good dude. So you know, you got a mixture of everything that's going on.
Let me ask you a question real quick about that. You know, at that time, they were saying that Black Just and Bimmy was snitching.
Okay, let me
hold on. Let me say something real quick. Do you think Preem found out about it and that was a way for him to get rid of him while doing it himself?
Nah. Let me tell you with that, once again, Born, and you know I don't tell you nothing but facts. This was around 91 when I was on the island for those 6 attempt murders on the police. The individual, Muhammad, that name was Roy Hale, and the law bless the ones that returned to the essence that a lot of people don't know. I was supposed to get an interview before he returned back. His name was T.A. That's the individual that helped me hit the street. All the Queens niggas and old timers that would listen to this right now would say, yo, the God is giving you pure facts. While I was in there, you understand, they had their indictment had 18 individuals on the indictment. Bimmy and Black Just was on the indictment. Only 9 individuals ended up going to jail on that indictment. I'm not saying that they was snitching or they was telling, but like I said before on my channel, you know what I'm saying, I seen this in black and white. You know, the individuals that did end up telling on them, a brother by the name of Puerto Rican Righteous, Ernesto Pinella, that was their enforcer at that time, that had like 9 bodies or whatever supposedly for the Supreme Team, he ended up telling and copping out to I think it was 9 to 18 years. So I did see their name on that indictment. Now with the situation with Bimmy and everything coming out later on, you know what I'm saying? I fully agree with that situation that took place in the park, you know, that he was definitely speaking to the cops at that time. But as far as Black Just, I'm not going to put that on them. But like I said, I seen with my own eyes those individual names was on that indictment paper because the individual Royal Hair Muhammad, they beat that in the state. They was on the island like I think maybe 37 months or something like that. So they beat it. And then he came back from court and he said to me, he was like, yo, Sha, I don't know what's going on because they haven't released us. That's not a good sign. And sure enough, within 24 hours, the feds picked the case up and that's how that went. And they ended up beating the bodies on the Colombians, but they got them for the drugs. So that's how they ended up with all that time in jail. And this is fact.
That's something for your head right there to think about for real. That's really something to think about. All right, I want to show you one more thing real quick before we get into, y'all want to get into this Wallo thing, man?
Let's get into it. Let's go. I'm with it.
Let me, because I got him up here too. We doing 50 Cent Jaru for like an hour and a half. Let me put this Wallo thing up real quick for us, yo, so we can see this, man. Hold up. Now this is Wallo. I want to know what y'all think about this, man. Hold on 1 second. Let me get it. Here we go.
Apparently, Wallo has pissed some people off. This thing is a fool. Nobody gives a. Played a couple times for y'all. Then we're gonna get into some of the people's reactions, and of course, I'll give y'all my take. And yeah, we'll go from there. All right. So with that being said, let's get right to it. Oh, I'm black. I'm black people. Nobody gives a fuck about that. Kill that shit. Now. Either you got a good business or you don't. All that shit, don't nobody want to hear that shit. That's a hustle. Support me because I got a black business. Is your restaurant clean? Is the food good? Do you got consistent cooks? Is the material on your shit good? Stop doing that. Oh, you support the white people? No, I support consistency, baby. Yeah. Fuck about what color you is. I'm gonna spend my money. That paper, I'm gonna spend them deals where the fuck I want to spend it at. Whether it's Porsche, Ferrari, Linda, I'm gonna do what the fuck I want to do while I'm here. But I'm gonna tell you one thing, I ain't gonna be finessed off some black shit. But one thing about it, 70% of you motherfuckers is not going to make it. I'm not no motherfucking fake ass motivational speaker that talk this dumb shit. I'm the number one nigga in the country. You know why? Y'all seen me come out of the penitentiary. I make millions and I make millionaires, baby. You understand? I come from the ghetto.
All right, now let's get to it.
You want me to cook? Want me to
cook,
cook?
Bro,
Right?
cook, man.
I'm walking.
You a chef?
I'm walking to the stove now. I'm going. All right. First, I gotta say, all right. To me, it's mixed. I get a mixed feeling off of everything. What I do want to say is, I kind of a little bit look at it like he's trying to motivate specifically black businesses to just have their stuff together. You know, for that message right there, I understand that. I do understand that. We know it's the Instagram era where nowadays, for instance, let's say somebody like Wallo co-sign your stuff. He pull up to your business. You giving him the treatment, and then when us go up to that place and we don't get that same treatment, because they looking at it like, oh, this just a regular person, and they're not treating you regularly. But also with me saying that is what I disagree with him saying is the businesses that he talk about being consistent, those people do not have the best customer service. Half of them don't like us. He talked about like Lamborghini and all those type of cars, those people that had generational wealth that had a much bigger, you know what I'm saying, a higher start than us. You're not getting that treatment. Now, if you spending $1, yeah, they might be like they somewhat happy that you spending $1, but I think it was Jim Jones and another guy, they had went into like a Gucci store or something like that.
I remember that.
Yeah, remember Jim Jones, like they not giving us the proper treatment and all that stuff. So I think all businesses, it don't matter what race you are or whatever, they all at times lack customer service. How many times we went to McDonald's and got cold fries? That ain't stop us from still taking our kids there and going there 3 weeks a month later. So I kind of get what he was trying to say, but what he's saying ain't 100% accurate. And then what I didn't like is where he was like 70% of the people is not going to make it. And he talked about him coming home and becoming a millionaire. What Wallo need to also tell people is that he was in a rare situation. Like the average person is not going to go through that. I know people funnier than him, more talented than him, got a deeper backstory than him, and they might have 200 followers on Instagram. Wallo came home to what we got to remember, to an alley-oop. Gilly was active that whole time from the 90s, bro. He done been in movies. And what Gilly built the whole time that Wallo was in jail was relationships.
Yeah.
When Wallo came home, if y'all remember the first videos he was doing, he was running up the street and he would come up and deliver a motivational speech. He's not the creator of that. That dude Nino Brown was doing that way before he got out of jail. The same exact way. Nobody ever pointed that out. Nobody ever pointed, bro. You go back to that boy Nino Brown, the boy that used to wear the crown. I guess he still do stuff.
I know he still be. I know he's over here.
You can go back on his video 10 years ago. He'd be running in the rain, jump over a bike, run up to the camera, and deliver a motivational speech. Wallo came home, did the same exact thing. He did that, and he came home and sold T-shirts like every nigga from Philly was doing at that time, way before he even came home. No, he just had the alley-oop. He just was in the position. He didn't do nothing special. It's just that they had those relationships, bro. They had the relationships. So, for him to say, he the top person in the country, I don't know what that's supposed to mean, but at the end of the day, Wallo, you a rare breed. Just like we all know people, you know what I'm saying, that was nice and ball, that could have made it to the NBA, that cooked NBA players when they played against them before they went to the NBA, but that don't mean that they ain't make it. So, at the end of the day, it's like that with all businesses, but what people fail to realize is you can I've been to plenty of restaurants where you spending top dollar and something ain't right in there.
Facts.
But you overlook it because you in there. You know what I mean?
The service are nasty.
The service
they real bougie.
Nasty, bougie. Just like you be like, I remember me and my wife like, yo, we gotta get out these streets. Like it's knocked off. We got kids now. And then you go slide and then go to the county, and now you're dealing with different issues with these schools that frown their face up to you. You go in certain stores, they looking at you, they see a black family. So it's like it's no such thing, you know what I'm saying, it's a safe zone but for the people that it's a lot of great black businesses that don't get the push. And I'll be the one to say it. When it comes to like Wallo and Gil, they're not helping you unless you got 20,000 to give them to promote your business. That's why on them interview clips when they had the football guy up there, he put them on doing those. Let's cut somebody in between the business owner. We charge them 20, 30,000, bro. People paying 20, 30,000 to get on a podcast for 7 to 10 minutes in between the interview. And obviously those people already got it, but goddamn, you know what I'm saying? So at the end of the day, you know, for the black business owners and all that, you got to keep pushing. Don't let that drag you down. And you can't count on people like them. They're not gonna rock with you unless you don't even need them. They certain people.
Let me ask you a question. How come we never see Wallo with a girl all the years he been home?
I couldn't hear you, Born. You went out.
I said, how come we never see Wallo with a girl in all the years he been home?
Well, he probably a selfish guy, because that's another thing that I always thought about.
Selfish. It could be selfish.
We're gonna say it the nice way. He's selfish.
I'm gonna tell you something.
I'll be there.
Hold on, let me tell you something. Hold on, let me tell you something. My grandma always told me
that was a good one, Twist.
A man without hair on his face is always suspect. She said, man that look like a P-U-S-S-Y around the leg, flips her face. Most likely is a drag queen on the low.
Another thing, can you hear me, boy?
I hear you.
Yeah, another thing I want to say is, I know he was in a relationship, but to me it looked like it probably was for the look, because I think that the girl had a hair salon or something. That's another thing where people, you know, when they be in those positions, they be like, I gotta have a certain type of female. They don't care if it's no type of, you know, connection or nothing. They just want it for the look. But I don't know if the man can have kids, but you know, for doing all that time and missing all that time in your life, and I don't want to bash the guy, but to come home and get that bag like that, I would have to have something on this earth where I know I could pass it down to. It ain't stopping you from looking out for your nieces and nephews who you want to look out for, but that's another thing right there. Now you got Wallo, you know, you rich as hell.
But you know what it is, bro?
You need the generational wealth.
But you know what it is? He can't get transgenders pregnant. My bad. Allegedly, he can't get Trans Ams pregnant. He can pump all the gas you want to a Trans Am. All he's gonna do is overflow.
That's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, like, goddamn, it's only but so much. You know, people that was rich and all that for years. It's only but so much buying cars and houses you can do. Like, goddamn, you want to take off time with your family, but he still got that. You know, I did 20-something years in jail. I'm missing out on life. One thing we gotta realize, us that been in jail, you never gonna get them years back. You're never gonna get them years back. So if you do, that's like if you come home from jail, you do 20 years, and you hit the lottery, you're gonna splurge maybe a few years, but it's also, you know, it's
Yo, let me ask you a question. I got a joke for y'all. How do a Trans Am sound? Nothing. How do a Trans Am sound?
How do it sound?
Vroom, or
you know, Ball gonna jump off the cliff every now and then. That's his thing. But going back to what he said, right? This is how I look at it, right? It's plenty of times that I might go and it's a new Jamaican restaurant or something like that, and they charging top dollar. I always tell them this right here. I don't mind spending the money for what you got as long as it's good, right? And then as soon as they really start to get all the business and the popularity, a lot of times they change the cook and they figure that they ain't got to pay the individual that got them there. It's like with everything else, you know, individuals that when they get high on the horse, they forget about the individuals that got them there. So when it comes to spending my money, like he said, I agree, whether it's black, white, Chinese, or whatever, if you offering a service and your service is good and excellent, then I'm gonna patronize you. But I'm gonna patronize my own people first, but a lot of times our own people that once they get in certain positions, they start to take shortcuts. Now, moving on to him talking about, I came home after 20 years, like Twiz said, you came home to a situation where your cousin was already active in the industry. It's just like us right now. And that's why with my channel or whatever, I don't really worry about the views or whatever. I'm going to say what I know that's right and exact. And a lot of times people are not going to deal with you because you always got a situation where a person's going to feel, well, if I let him in the door, is he going to do better than me or whatever, as opposed to the same way in the game, in the streets or whatever. If you come on and I help you get on and you start to do a little bit better than me, or say you get a better connect than the connect that I already got, instead of you hiding this and saying, oh, I'm going to go for myself, automatically, me being the person that got you there, you supposed to take me along. But they don't do that. So now Wallo is really, he in the same position like the people that he had once upon a time spoke against, because I don't care who you are, money changes you. And if you're not really grounded, then you're going to start making statements about what you got materialistically, and then all of the other things that's involved mentally, or your principles start to go down the drain, because now you in a whole another tax bracket. You dealing with a whole lot of other people that normally wouldn't have dealt with you. We know for a fact, not just Jim Jones, but look at Oprah. Oprah done been in stores where she had to go through things with these same Europeans that we go in there to patronize, Gucci, Louis, this, that, and the third. And I'm not saying anything is wrong with that, because, you know, we have all done it. My era, you know, was Dapper Dan and everything like that. We set the trends and everything else. But at the end of the day, we got to always realize with them people, and this is where we got the problem at, is that we are 95 to almost 90%, 99% consumers. We don't never take the money that we get and circulate it back into our own community. So now you go in and buying Lambos and everything else. You now have become a part of this same society of people. And now you figure it's cool to talk down and say, oh, I'm making millions of dollars. But like Twin said, it was the foundation to that. It was people that got ideals and is doing things the same way now. If I see a person got a, you know, a channel or something, they may do something that I like, that I would want to incorporate, but that doesn't make me the origin of it if I blow up, because I took somebody else's, you know, ideal and I made it work. But now that it is working, instead of you giving the credit to where you got it from, you gonna act like none of that exists. And I just came out with the master plan and everything just worked out, and now I'm a millionaire. And it just don't work like that. It's not what you know, it's always who you know. So if you got somebody that's in position that's gonna bring you up, you know what I'm saying, or shine the light on you, or put you in that position, and you got any type of talent or intelligence, then you're gonna take full advantage of that situation. So, you know, I'm happy the brother took advantage of the situation, and he is where he is right now. But some of that shit sound like, you know what I'm saying, you just bragging and boasting about something that just don't happen on no daily basis. You just was lucky that you was connected with your cousin, and so happily, just as much as your cousin had to offer, you had something to offer. Y'all both came together, and now, you know what I'm saying, y'all successful at what you're doing. But in the same token, don't forget where you come from and take that same attitude, like you said, Twin, where now you in that position while you got to be taxing black businesses $20,000 or $30,000 to get up there to get, you know, some type of advertisement. And rather than you doing some things and saying, well, yo, I see this place over here, I go and I eat their food. Their food is real good. So now I'm going to give them a chance to come up on my platform and shine and help make their business, you know, that much greater.
That's 100% fact. That's what
That's a
everybody.
fact.
That's what everybody think I'm being rude or obnoxious or disrespectful to these people, man. No, you just gotta take. You know how when your dog poop on the floor. Sometimes you gotta take their nose or wipe them the poop to know it's not all right, and pop them on the bottom of their behind. People like
And that's it.
Wallo. Sometimes you need to be chastised.
Yeah, I mean, just something that people need to realize, like when it boils down to this, at the end of the day, you know, we need to remember that, you know, Wallow not losing no sleep or no money. But the reason why certain things need to get it addressed is because you got people that came out to that event that paid for that. You heard people like in agreement with him, but he also could have discovered some people. You know what I'm saying? The last thing anybody need is to be discouraged at the end of the day. Like, you know what I'm talking about? Like, especially when you was in a rare situation. That's just my whole situation. This situation was rare. At the time when they got the deal, people was getting deals, bro. Gil already had a heavy character. People was watching him. Gil could have already had the podcast before Wallo came out. It's just that Wallo came out and was surfing the internet, looking up, seeing what everybody was doing. And people came to them to do the podcast because they definitely got good chemistry together. And
Yo,
a lot of people.
First of all, they robbed a joke from Jersey. They supposed to be partners with the podcast. They robbed him.
But that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. So a lot of people, you know, they talk about like Wallo personality. We all from different hoods, and we all got people from our hood that took money that had that same energy. I knew a bunch of jammy boys. They'd be out there joking, doing all types of stuff. They had a charisma and talk you out your stuff and pull that wop out on you, and it's a wrap and catch you off guard. You probably thought he was a cool guy until then. You know what I'm talking about? He using that same, you know, tactic of when he was taking money. He just doing it in the, you know, into the industry way. That's why he can easily fast talk people when people ain't going to catch it. But at the end of the day, you know, like I said before, you know, they was in a rare situation and they was blessed to get the podcast deals that they got because people were not getting those Jones no more. Podcast is dying. And not to really be, you know, saying it like this, but at the end of the day, you know, it's not their podcast don't really offer nothing unique, bro. I mean, you just interviewing people. I like podcasts. I consider a structured podcast like the Joe Budden podcast, where you can sit, you can have dialogue. You might argue one day, person snapping. To me, that right there. It's a science to that. And they all understand that, even after him having to revamp his podcast.
Yeah.
You know, if the guests make your show, then the guests is, you know what I'm saying, and the guests, that's no different than Vlad. People can say what they want about Vlad, but, you know, at the end of the day, he brought them guests up there. That's what built that. You know what I'm talking about? If they could sit and have a normal chemistry, you know what I'm saying? But they won't be able to add no other. They don't got no room for no other players. Like you said, everybody they had to end up getting rid of for whatever reason. Yeah, you know I mean, it never worked out with nobody else that was, you know, a part of their joint or whatever. But, you know, who knows? It is what it is. But one thing for sure, two things for certain. He made it, but so did Kevin Hart. You know what I'm saying? Kevin Hart made it too. And you know, Kevin Hart not in my top 5 of comedy either. but that don't mean he ain't making it to the top. That's why when somebody like Cat Williams come out and say what he say, everybody acts so, you know what I'm saying, shocked and stuff like that. It's like, damn, is it me? I know Kevin Hart, his first stand-up, that joint was crazy. I love that joint. Back in the bootleg era, I'm like, this guy's funny. But then as time go on, and then you start seeing movies like Get Hard and all that stuff, it's like, damn, I don't know, bro. Certain people really handpick for certain situations, bro. Like,
Yo, Twiz, come closer to the mic. You kind of low.
okay, can y'all hear me better now?
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, but that's all I was saying. I think Wallo is just trying to, you know, he going for Kevin Hart status. That's cool for him, you know what I'm talking about. But you know, to each his own. I like I said, I would take as how he was saying at the beginning on basically black businesses tighten up y'all situation. You know what I'm saying? Make sure y'all stuff is sharp. But what did you say to the young guy that had $500 and got some t-shirts printed and he coming up to you like, Wallo, can you support me? And you looking at him like, oh, you got his t-shirts, you don't got this, you don't got that. You know, it's a lot of context to what he said, because the same stuff that he crushing people about is what he came up off of. You came up off of nothing. You came up off of t-shirts and Instagram blogs on top of the alley-oop. The same stuff people been doing, and there's a lot of people that's doing it at a better, like, I can't speak for everywhere else, but I know like Philly co-sign whoever is lit. If you ain't lit, if everybody ain't reposting you and doing this and that, then they'll overlook you. It don't matter how good your product is, whether you got a restaurant, whether you selling clothes, whatever it is. It's like a crab in a barrel, you know what I'm saying? It's a crab in a barrel city. But when you get lit, everybody standing behind you. Everybody, your cousin. We seen it happen with Lil Uzi Vert. You know what I'm saying? When he, you know, first, like, people was like, that ain't Philly. Like, we don't carry ourselves like that. Soon as he got on, everybody talking about some Uzi, a real nigga though. Like, yeah, he be sure, like, you know, so that's just what it is. But, you know, at the end of the day, you know, it is what it is.
Like, I see Beanie too. I see Beanie trying to rap it, right?
Mm-hmm.
This nigga has the weirdest shit in the world.
Yeah, probably taking the Uzi route. Like, it worked for him. I'm gonna come out dressed like a Oompa Loompa nigga and see if they sign me now.
Yo, but yo, now speaking of black owned businesses, right? We gotta talk about Matt Hoffa podcast.
Yeah, I'll just get ready to come with that because he's a perfect example of everything that we talk about right now. But go ahead, Bob.
All right. Everybody was saying it was everybody else's fault why he left the podcast, right? How can everybody leave you and it's not be your fault?
See, that's what we going back to right now. You know what I'm saying? That individuals become so big-headed and arrogant, you know, that they feel that everything is made because of them. It's never like that. And that's our problem as black people, that when we build things together and we make something really happen, the people that was there from the beginning, or the people that was instrumental the most in making you get to achieve what you're achieving right now, you tend to forget them and you tend to forget their input. So now you thinking it's the same way in the streets, hustling. You think when you on top that you always gonna be on top. Not saying that, yo, this person or that person gonna get killed, people gonna get robbed, money gonna get taken, you gonna go to jail, or whatever that goes along with the territory of living that life. So now you may not be out in the street, but now you done created a lane where you could make millions of dollars, but you didn't create that lane on your own. You had people that was around you that was very instrumental in you achieving that, And instead of rewarding them or creating something where they got their own lane, instead, you just want to, take control of everything, have all the money, get the spotlight and everything else until you get to the point where you at right now. And I don't want to see no black man that achieve, success have to lose that success. But in the same token, if you achieve that success and you don't look out for the individuals that help you achieve that success, then sooner or later it's going to be a downfall. It's the same way, like I said, once again, relating to the street. If you got a crew and you don't allow your crew to get any money and you end up in a jam, but you only let these guys over here make 10,000 while you made millions of dollars, but now you in a jam and you can't get to your money or anything else, how can those individuals help you out? They can't help you out because you never allowed them to get into the position where they could do for themselves and possibly do for you. So we always got that, like Twiz said, it's the crabs in the barrel mentality. Nobody wants to help you get up higher. And if you are getting up higher, the majority of the other individual is looking for some way to pull you down. And this is why our state of existence right now, we going, back hundreds of years with everything that's taking place politically out here and the individuals that's in charge of the things that we have achieved. Because nobody else, every other group of people, the LGBTQ community, you know what I'm saying? The Latinos, everybody else has made their steps moving forward, off of what we fought for, the civil rights, the human rights, and everything else. But in the same token, everybody is always looking at us because we just can't come together and support each other. And our problem is that when we get at the top, you know what I'm saying? We don't look back and extend that same hand or help, and I'm going to say just this little part and then y'all could go on. It's a lot of things because I graduated from HBCU, school. And right now my school is going through a crisis. It shouldn't be a problem with all these athletes and everything else that got hundreds of millions of dollars to reach back, you know what I'm saying, and support these foundations that help educate so many groups of our people throughout the years. And knowing now is the same thing that's going on every place else. If you look, most of the HBCU schools are located in downtown areas or areas that they considered to be the ghetto back then. But now that we dealing with this regentrification of these areas, they want a lot of that property back. So a lot of times we concentrating on the little things when we should be looking at the bigger picture. And like Twiz said, there's always going to be individuals out there that got greater talent, but those individuals, they never get a chance to be placed in the opportunity where their talents can shine. And if you come from that right there and you get on, then you should be willing more than other individuals to make sure that you reach back to help somebody else out.
Yeah, you got to think about it like this too. Allah, think about the school in Allah, you know what I'm saying? How that school's fall apart, how all these rappers got knowledge of self, going on world tours, making all this money and never giving it back to the school either. But they want you to support their cause or buy their tickets, go to their shows or buy their albums, but you ain't even support where you came from. The only reason you rap like that, you sound like that, because you got most of your shit from the 5% Nation of Guys and Nerves.
Absolutely.
A lot of y'all rappers out there will have vocabularies if y'all wasn't part of y'all ain't doing the 5% Nation. Half of y'all wouldn't be able to read. Let's keep it a buck.
Exactly.
So you know what I'm saying? That's what I'm saying about the situation, bro. It's everything, man. And like I said, I like Wallo, bro. I like Wallo. I like something. I see what he do for the community and stuff like that. I see how he go to Target and take the women kids shopping. But yo, let's keep it real, man. I understand you doing stuff with the kids.
We
What's
gotta
up?
remember.
What's up? Hold on. What's up with the niggas coming from prison that might need a helping hand? You ain't doing shit for them.
You got one thing I want people to remember, and I'm not knocking it. Hold on 1 second. My kid's loud as crap. Hold up. One thing people gotta remember is the more money you get, the better, you know, the more you gotta maneuver. If you ever see any celebrity doing any type of donation or anything, that's all part of the tax write-off game.
Mm-hmm.
That's all part of the tax write-off game. And this is why I'm saying this. Cat Williams was already proven that he went to people's shows and saw up-and-coming comedians that was funny, but wasn't getting the push, and he would send people with them and get them 20,000. This and that, huh? Just keep it off the record. This from Cat. You ain't got to say that and nothing. To me, that's a generous soul.
Yeah.
Wallo just smart. He understand business. He understand everything. That's why you see every rapper and every celebrity, they get on their Instagram, they be like, we doing this donation. That's just to keep IRS off your top.
Hold on, but
that's the oldest
listen.
trick in the
Wallo,
book.
what's up with that boy from Tennessee? What's his name? The dark skin one that was giving out all that money to the people.
I'm not sure. From Tennessee.
Yeah, he was down with Yo Gotti.
Moneybag Yo? I don't know.
Not Moneybag Yo, the other one. Black youngster.
Oh, Black youngster. I thought he was from. Oh yeah, you're right. Tennessee, Memphis. Yeah, from Memphis.
Yeah. Yo, he gave out money, straight cash to people, bro. Just to help them, you know what I'm saying? They ain't asked for it, he'll walk up to them like, here you go. $20,000, $10,000.
Facts.
$5,000, shit. $1,000 sometimes.
My whole thing is this. If I got 5 million and I go donate 20,000 somewhere, it take a lot more to have $20 and get somebody 10 of that.
Facts. No, you're right.
But that's all part of the business stuff. You got Wallo. Wallo is a marketing genius. He's a marketing genius, bro. If you want to know the game of hustler, I'll give him that all day. Sincerity, you know what I'm saying? That's subjective, you know what I'm saying? I guess it depends on, who you are and how you look at it. But, the most sincere people that I know, it's not even getting broadcasted, bro.
Nah.
I don't gotta pull up no camera and get to physically donate. Cause now it's just for the look. Like I'm doing this, I'm doing that. Y'all can't see like you never do nothing. But I have yet to see any niggas from Philly on a podcast.
Nah, bro. Me neither.
Besides Will Smith and Kevin Hart, 2 rich niggas that don't even need a damn interview.
But y'all probably paying them for the interview.
That's why I did a video a while back speaking on it. I salute them from where they came from, but I do think it's foul. Like I never seen you see Philly artists, and ain't nobody talking about the little drill young boys. We understand if you don't support that. You got roots, you got all types of different legendary stuff. You know what I'm saying? Just like me and Shabu was talking a few weeks ago, you got people like the youngsters, Karan Goodman. It's a lot of history out there. And the other New York and everybody else, they show more love to Philly than the biggest podcast that's supposed to be from Philly. But You know, it is what it is.
Hold on one second, yo. We got Kennedy in the back. Let's see what Kennedy got to say about this. Kennedy, a Houston native. What up, Ken Dog? What's good?
Dog, hey, already, you already family. You know me for real. You know what I mean? I think all these people are crashing out. And then I think what 50 is doing is if you don't like somebody, you just don't like them. If somebody tried to set me up to take my life, I don't care if they did. You know?
That's fact.
Like, how can you feel remorse for somebody that showed you none?
A person that tried to end your life.
I'm like, if you don't like me and you tried to life, you know what I mean? Like, why would I say, you know what? Am I making sense?
No, you're making sense.
So I don't care if you dead. I don't like you. I don't have no feelings for you. Like, that's just what it is. You tried to kill me. And other niggas around you tried to kill me, and you knew it. That's just like with Big and Pop.
Laughed about it. And they was laughing about when he got shot. Do you see all the times they was on Breakfast Club, different shows, laughing about when they was talking about how 50 got shot?
Man, what? That's what people forgetting right here. They forgetting that they laughed about it. You laughing about me almost dying and they didn't finish the job. I'm like, come on, man. You know how we get down. Like, I ain't gonna say nothing, but I'm just saying, if somebody did me like that, I don't like you, and I'm gonna make sure I get to you one way or another. You know what I'm talking about? What
I might not physically do nothing to you, but financially, mentally, emotionally, I'm gonna put you in the hole.
It's just like when T.I. did a little flip like that. Every verse he was like that nigga. Mentally, physically, and goddamn it, tore his career up. I'm like, you can do it in a lot of ways.
Hold on. You talk about Lil Flip and T.I. Man, Lil Flip gave T.I. the business for the longest. T.I. just had a bigger following, man.
No, but T.I. was jamming more, and he was lighting that nigga up. Lil Flip didn't know how to do the goddamn beats right. He would come with some bullshit beats. And he wasn't really on that type. He can't out-rap T.I. when he on his bullshit. You know what I mean? Y'all know good goddamn well T.I. was coming out every verse, every album, that nigga lighting that nigga up. He got it in his head.
But yo,
mentally and spiritually. There's different ways you can do this shit.
Hold on one second, Ken. 1 second, Ken. Yo, we got Shabu, we got SV Twins, the Mac Middle Show, we got Kennedy in the building. Yo, we're about to end.
Man, salute to everybody on the panel.
Much love and
respect for having me up here.
Salute, Kennedy.
Salute. Peace, my brothers. Peace,
salute
man.
to everybody.
Keep doing what y'all doing.
Yo, check this out, man. Like we did the show. We talked about 50 Cent. Yo, let me ask y'all a question. How do you have over 1 million subscribers and could barely get 7,000 views on a video?
They bought.
So y'all think Matt Papa paid for them subscribers?
No, I don't pay for it. I don't think that they paid for it. What the thing would get tricky with YouTube is people. If you hear a lot of people talking about your niche is for a reason. I experimented with YouTube for a minute, bro. Like, say if you conducting your channel a specific way, like let's say we got a podcast and all of us is on the panel and the views is going skyrocketed, and then Warren get rid of 3 of us. and bring another
Right.
2 people in, and that chemistry not right, that will throw your algorithm off. When you got chemistry, when you got to stick with that. He switched his chemistry up too much, and on top of that, he not consistent. He not consistent with his content. So when he had his panel with the old head.
Yeah, with Heineken and S on them.
Who y'all talking about? Joe Budden?
No, we're talking about Matt
Talking
Hoffa.
about Matt Hoffa.
Matt Hoffa.
Yeah, you
Yeah,
know
it was Heineken and it was the other dude, Heineken and
Bigger.
Esso. Heineken and Esso.
Bigger. Yeah, Bigger is who I was talking about.
Heineken, Esso, and Bigger.
And then Champ.
Yup. Champ. Can y'all hear me? My joint went out.
But I think all of them needed
Champ,
each
to
other.
me, Champ, he was added towards the end. He played the part in it as for bringing guests, but as for substance to the podcast, I give it the Bigger, Esso, Heineken.
Yeah.
They themselves, they added a lot of substance to the topics. And Bigger with his little outbursts randomly, even when like they had Smith and Wesson up there, when Yayo was up there, all that stuff right there that added fuel to the fire. He lost all of that momentum. It's a lot of YouTube channels. You can lose your momentum. It don't matter how much subs you got. And when you lose your momentum, what happens is, if you randomly get 50,000 views on a video, let's just say 7,000 of those viewers, they watch your video to the end. What YouTube do is they watch how long people watch your videos. If your time get cut shorter, then they don't push your stuff out as much. That's why people that be wilding out on them Jones, they be trying to get that. It's all about your view duration. If your view duration drop, then your views drop. If you put a video up and your joint went viral, that's because people watch over 12 minutes of that joint. But Matt Hoffa switched his
Hey,
system
you're not
up so
lying
much.
about that. You're not lying about my bad. I ain't
No,
mean
it's
to
all
cut you
good.
off. My bad.
It's all good. So I was just saying
You're not lying about that. It's duration time. And then people have shorter attention time now.
Yup. So he threw his momentum off with so much issues in his podcast. It hurt him. He lost Heineken and Esso. That was a major gap.
So
but then he still
can I
kept
ask
trying
you,
to push.
Can I ask you something? Like him having those different people up there, do you think that hurt him or help him?
It would have only helped him if it could have helped him. He hurt himself with greed. I would never
Yeah,
structure a
that's
podcast.
what I was getting to.
I would never
That's what I was
structure
getting to.
a podcast. I believe Shabu said earlier about if you open up a business, those ones you started it with, when they take off, don't forget. So if we all start a panel right now, I'm not going to have nobody, I don't care what I'm working with. I'm going to come to the plate like, bro, I'm working with this. Would this be all right with you? When we build it up, and that's for everybody. The first thing you should have when you bring somebody on there is talking about the compensation, because now you're taking grown men out of whether they could have a regular job or do whatever they do to make their own money. Now you got them taking out your
And then it's
time of their day.
appeal that other different people have. It's the different appeal, different ages, different mind frames, different age groups. You know what I mean?
Facts.
But sometimes people don't understand that. That's why sometimes, even if you have people on your panel, you still got to understand all levels of it. You know what I mean? But I don't think he ever understood.
What he wanted was the full attention. That's where he messed up at. He wanted the full attention. You had Big and Esso eventually felt like they wasn't getting enough money. Bigger came in, did it for free, but wanted to start talking about his own podcast. He should have had that channel structured where everybody could get their own spotlight.
That's what I'm saying. Everybody eat. Everybody eat. That's my whole thing. I want everybody to eat, so nobody can say I did them dirty.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
you can't do that and be greedy like I got y'all later. No, you can't, because then when you're doing that, now people are sticking to the work they're doing, and now they counting your pockets. It's just like hustling, and you out there with bricks and all of that, and you out here, you trying to give people bundles. After a while,
It's
them
some
young
paid
boys
in
gonna start
full
turning to wolves.
situation.
Facts.
Yeah, that's
It's a paid in full
hold on,
situation.
you can't see for myself. But that's like what 50 said that
No,
hold on 1 second. What 50 said the Supreme Team had niggas work for 50 or 500 packs. You only give me $50,000 or $500 for crack? Man,
Yeah.
you crazy.
Yeah. After a while, even those
yo,
people that
that
was
is
doing the work,
crazy.
y'all gonna become
That
like
is a sort of black supremacy type thing on the streets, though. Like, that's fucked up, straight up. Like, man, if I'm making this, I'm like, man, you hustling for me like that, man, I'm gonna put you in on something. But when the greed comes in, like what he just said, when the greed comes in, that's what Math Alpha messed up. The greed.
But Math Hoffa messed it up because of his personality, his greed. He just got a snake personality and don't see nothing wrong with what he did ever. So I think his issue
You can't trust a snake, man.
His issue is he can't reevaluate himself, and he can't accept if somebody is in his corner that's trying to tell him about his wrongdoings. He ain't trying to hear that. It's going to be we've seen it plenty of times. So, you know, like I said, those podcasts ain't always cracked up to be. If you ain't getting those
Everybody
bills,
can build, but it's always in the situation, no matter what color or creed you are.
if you ain't getting
It's
them
always
bills
greed.
off of a podcast, you're not going. It's not going to last with a team podcast. It's not going to last. There's not enough money in it. YouTube don't pay that. YouTube don't pay what people think. That's why these young boys these little Castanas and all that, they running laps on people because they hitting real numbers on YouTube. It's very rare that you're going to see a podcast, every joint hit 1 million views. If you ain't hitting 1 million views, every joint you dropping, then you better be dropping at least twice a week. If you got
Club
a team on there.
Club Shay Shay. Even his weakest guess is 1 million views.
Yeah, but Club Shay Shay, what Club Shay Shay got over a lot of people is he came in the game with money. So now that's somebody that can pay for structure, and he already got, on top of him having to push, he got everything set up. So I try not to compare the celebrities that come into the game with millions already. He was a millionaire before he ever started the podcast stuff. But even with him, he ain't top Cat Williams yet. So it's like a matter of time before, like 4 or 5 years from now, how popping is Shay Shay gonna be? He gonna have to dig deeper to the younger people eventually. You know what I mean? Even though he already bringing younger people on there, like he be having an Instagram comedians and all that. But the podcast game is tricky, especially when it's talent based, where you got to bring somebody up there to talk. It's only with so many people you going to interview, and you can have some great people up there that's really dope artists or dope entertainers, but it don't mean it's going to hit them numbers. It's like Bag Few. They just had Cormega up there, dope story, but it's not going crazy. It ain't like they pulling 500,000 views on there. So now you paying for an overhead. You paying for your studio, your cameraman, your editors, all these people got to get paid. So when the money is not adding up, most podcasts right now is faking it to make it. They making it look like, it's bread and butter like that, but they not really doing. Only people really winning like that is like DJ Academics, Joe Button, $1 million worth of game. Revolt got the machines behind them. If you don't got them machines behind you, you don't got like no Spotify deal or nothing like that, you're not gonna last in the podcast game, bro. Not with no overhead, not with an expensive overhead. It's impossible.
Yeah, true. But yo, we've been over 2 hours, yo. Let me get to the kitchen and start cleaning it up for the wife to get home. Yo, Shiz, I'm gonna give you a call in a minute. Shabu, I'm gonna give you a call too, bruh. And yo, Kennedy, good to you up here, bruh. And my boy, the Mac Mizzle Show. Tell my nieces and nephews I said We ain't no Bloods or no Crips. We doing our own thing. BTB the started his own gang. Like, nigga, what? We out of
There's no
here.
more to it.
Peace, my brother.